Hello everyone, my name is Fauzi Imam and I'm the first year student in Tadulako University majoring in Information System and my student ID is F52121021. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the one of the 100 cultures in Indonesia called the Papua tribe. And let's go to the topic. Papua culture. Although Papua has a population of just 2.9 million and a population density of 9 people per square kilometer, the Papuan culture is incredibly diverse and has evolved some of the most distinctive and long isolated cultures in the world. The Papuan people are thought to be descended from the first inhabitants of New Guinea, who arrived at least 40,000 years ago. The dense forests of Papua are rich, with an intricate mosaic of different tribal groups. There are approximately 255 indigenous groups in Papua alone, including some groups who have remained uncontacted. Each group has their own language, some unrelated to any another in the world, and most groups are made up of just a few hundred people. This huge diversity has contributed to approximately 25% of the world language being spoken in the New Guinea. This diversity has been created by the endlessly varied landscape Papua has to offer. From the coastal areas to the mountainous regions, the environment has shaped the way of life and development of these groups. The central mountainous region of Papua is home to the highland people who cultivate the land with sweet potato, yams, canes, and other plants. The tribes who live within the famous Balim Valley are included here. The Deni, Lani, Yali all still practice their traditional cultures and customs, celebrated at the annual Balim Valley Festival. The people who live in Central Mountain Range in Jayawijaya Highland, including the Balim Valley, are famous for wearing koteka, the penis gourd. These koteka vary greatly between different tribes and are often an identifying feature of the tribe. Groups of people living in the more lowland areas tend to process sago trees for their staple food, fish in downstream rivers and in the sea, and they cultivate the land to some extent. Tribes living further upstream of the rivers also process sago tree, but they hunt birds and non-hurt animals. These groups tend not to cultivate the land, but rather hunt and occasionally fish in the rivers. Some tribes living in the coastal regions have been more greatly influenced by the region's culture due to interactions through trade, missionaries, and the greater accessibility of the region. Foreign influences have largely avoided the interior tribes due to inaccessibility of the region. In addition, it was only discovered in 1938 that interior areas such as the Balim Valley were inhabited. Even now, there are some tribes, the interior regions of Papua, who have remained uncontacted. Religion in Papua culture. The Dutch introduced Christianity to Papua in the 1850s. However, this was not really accepted until the early 20th century, and this was generally isolated to the northern coast of the island of Papua. The Christian Church of Papua was established in the 1950s. In the southern areas of Papua, Catholic missionaries introduced Catholicism in the 1890s. But the efforts to introduce Catholicism were largely unsuccessful until the 1920s, when the first Catholic schools were built. Generally speaking, the indigenous groups today tend to be Christian or animist, and the migrants, particularly from elsewhere in Indonesia, are Muslims. Papua is one of two Protestant majority provinces in Indonesia. Protestantism is the majority region in Papua, with Roman Catholicism following. Islam is the next most prominent religion, followed by the Hinduism and Buddhism. However, both Hinduism and Buddhism represent a very small proportion, less than 1% of the population practice these religions. However, in many areas such as the interior regions, animism and traditional beliefs are still practiced. Flora and fauna in the Papuan culture. While Papua is the one of the areas within the greatest biodiversity in the tropics, is it also one of the least studied and understood. New Guinea occupies an area of 0.5% of the Earth's surface, but contain 5 to 10% of the total species on the planet, roughly equivalent to that found in the United States or Australia. Reflecting this biodiversity, Papua shelters a host of rare and endemic species, including the Salvadori teal, McGregor bird of paradise, Goodfellow tree kangaroo, the Papuan hornbill, the long-beaked echidna, the Papua monitor, and the Dioseridae, often known as the tiger cat. Papua is also thought to be home to the New Guinea sing dog, one of the rarest species of the dog in the world. The rivers and the wetland also holds salt and freshwater crocodiles, flying foxes, osprey, and the bats. This great biodiversity is possible due to the multitude of different ecosystems and landscapes stretching across Papua, from coral reefs to mangroves to rainforests, alpine tundra, and equatorial glaciers. Unfortunately, these little explored equatorial glaciers have been in retreat over the past 18 years. Scratching through to the southern of lowland of the Papua, Lawrence National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is one of the most ecologically diverse national parks in the world, and weaving through the northern lowland is the Amazon Papua. The Membramo Rivers was huge valley from the Lakes Plains region, and is home to some of the world's last remaining uncontacted people and vast and fascinating biodiversity. Beyond these lowlands, stretching out to the ocean, is the rich underwater world, beautiful coral reefs in warm ocean environment. Papua history and culture. New Guinea is the second largest island in the world after Greenland and split politically into two halves. Two western halves of the island is comprises two Indonesian provinces, Papua and West Papua. The eastern half forms the mainland of the country of Papua New Guinea. Geographically, New Guinea lies on the southwest Pacific Ocean. To the east of the Malay Archipelago and North Australia. New Guinea is a part of the same tectonic plate as Australia and is part of Melanesia and subregion of Oceania. Stretching for hundreds of miles from underwater walls of the coral reefs to the equatorial glaciers on the peaks, the endlessly varied landscape contains some of the world's most extensive and diverse mangroves, lake and rivers ecosystem, wetlands and savanna grassland, lowland and montane rainforest, alpine tundra. Okay, that's it. That's all from me, and thank you for your attention.